Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Let me know, everybody, if you can hear me and you can see me before we officially start. Give it a minute for everybody to join. Let me know in the chat maybe, or in Q&A, doesn't matter. Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Gina. Thank you. Perfect, perfect. All right. Great. See everybody's joining. Day 4, everybody. Welcome to day 4. We have 2 more days to go, today and tomorrow, of Design Your Success 2023. So with our mini tradition that we have going on, I would love to know any breakthroughs, any aha moments that you've experienced, you realized so far, whether it's from yesterday's sessions or the session before, because again, as we process information and new information sinks in, sometimes our brain does need a little bit of time to process and really realize certain things. And I see that sometimes when I coach my clients. So, we coach and they come to me, they ask questions or share their challenges, and I coach them in the moment, right? I help them, but then sometimes we part our ways after the coaching session, and I sleep on whatever we coached on, and the next day I have more ideas for them, right? And sometimes I'll send them a message, I'll wait till the next session, depending on what it is and so on, but I will have more things to tell them and help them and so on. So because our brain does process the information sometimes in our sleep, or just needs a little bit of time to go deeper. So I would love to know what might be some of the mini transformation, aha moments that you've experienced that you haven't shared. And think about it also, be vulnerable also for others, help others. Your transformation, your aha moment can help somebody right here in this call today. So I would love to know. And as you're typing, I will share a thought that came to me after, actually an example of confidence growth cycle from my own very beginning journey of the business, because I want to show you that not only it works, the process, because it's really like natural way how we operate, but also like no matter the challenges you think or your brain says you have, you can always overcome them, right? When you have the belief in yourself and you believe in the possibility, you're capable of doing things, and you then determine like the gap, where's the gap to where you want to go, and then you lean into the scary thing or sometimes hard thing, you will succeed 100%. Okay. So here's the story I want to share. So when I started my business, I started it on the side. I decided at some point, and I don't have time like for the entire story in detail, but I decided at some point that I did not want to continue growing professionally in the corporate world long term. Like I was okay to stay another couple of years or so, but long term, I didn't see myself growing and fulfilling, my professional needs, let's just say. And that's when the idea for my business came and what I wanted to do it and so on. And I started it on the side because, again, I have a family to take care of. We have a mortgage. I was doing well. I had a good salary. I had benefits, all those things. So I had fears of just quitting. I couldn't just quit and say, hey, like, I'm just going to try and see if it works, right? So I wanted to try and see if it works while I was working. So I had a confidence in me, I could figure it out, but I didn't know how long it will take and so on. So as I started my business and really took steps towards setting it up and so on, I thought like, okay, I need to go out there and be visible and so on. And where the gap revealed itself is like, I have no network, like literally zero. And I'll explain why. And because I also never really networked during my corporate career, again, learn from your mistakes. I didn't think it was important. I didn't feel naturally in it. I really wanted to, I had a lot of work. I wanted to be with my family. So I didn't want to, on top of working a lot, take away that time from my family. Whether this was right decision or not, it is what it is. I learned I never networked. Therefore, my networking skills were very minimal. And here's why I didn't have a network. So for those of you who might be skeptics, saying, Maggie, come on, like you didn't know any people, like you couldn't ask them and so on. One, I am an immigrant to Canada. So I came when I was late 20s. So therefore my network from like university and my friends and so on, we're all in Poland or in other countries in Europe, but we also lost some of the touch over the years. Like I still am in touch with my best friends, but again, like they are working somewhere else and it, it's not the same. They didn't know necessarily people who I would want to coach in English, in North America and so on. So that's one. The second part was that when I came to Canada, I was with a different partner. He was Polish as well. And when we started establishing our social network, our friends and so on, they all revolved around the family that he had here and their friends. Therefore, when our relationships fell apart or I decided to end it, with that one decision, I lost my entire social network, like literally everybody. Okay. Now that didn't happen like right before I started a business, but then I had a tough couple years, especially 1 year to get over it and so on. And I definitely didn't want to network and make new friendships during that time. And then, as I also met my husband and we started a family. I had 2 new kids, like brand young kids. I also wasn't into, looking for friends and networking. I was focused on raising my kids. So, and then the next thing was that when I decided to have my business, because I started it during a corporate role and I was a leader, I also made a decision, right or wrong, not to mix the two and make sure that there's no conflict of interest, even though there wasn't, but I just wanted to be clear. So I also decided not to tell anybody except for like HR and people who had to know that I started a business just for the policy reasons, not to tell anybody in my own company and people I knew, because the most people I knew was within the company. I was there 13 years. I was a subject matter expert. I knew a lot of people in different departments, but I decided I didn't want them to know in the beginning. I was scared. I didn't have confidence. And I also didn't want to mix the two. So with all those things and those decisions, I realized zero network. I don't know anybody. But I could have I could have let my brain to stop me with that, right? It could have said like, oh, like, how are you going to do it? Like, how are you ever going to find people who will trust you and pay you money for your coaching, even though you don't have testimonials? Again, I didn't want to ask my mentees or people that I coached in my corporate world to vouch for me or whatever, how are you going to do it? And I just figured out, you know what? I'll do it. I'll figure it out. And I went there and started networking and building connections and building relationships in a way that worked for me, not in the most trendy, best ways, but in a way that worked for me because I had a job, because I had a family, and I couldn't go to an in-person networking event in the middle of the day every week or whatever. And it worked. And I found people who trusted me and gave me money and believed that I can help them. They didn't care if somebody recommended me. They didn't care if I had testimonials and so on. And although I'm naturally introverted, and I know it's hard to believe because I'm here training you, but I'm naturally introverted. I usually am a quiet person in a group. I usually be listen and so on. It doesn't mean I don't like people and I don't like building relationships, but I like deep relationships. And my hardest part is that like the beginning, right? Start conversations, start developing. And then once I pass that, like I really like to build deeper relationships. So it didn't stop me. And as I networked, so as I went and implemented and did and assessed and thought was working, did the meetings where I was the wallflower and I was scared to approach anybody and just relied on people to like kind of bring me in. But fast forward a couple of years and my networking skills skyrocketed, right? I learned and so on. And I don't have any troubles now to start a conversation. Now it's me who sometimes looks out for those people like I was 2 years ago and brings them in and helps them feel comfortable and starts a conversation and so on. Okay. So there is truly nothing that you cannot learn. There's nothing that you cannot overcome. There's no challenge that you cannot overcome. You just need to be willing to lean into it and go after it. Sometimes just learn the skills and so on, because as I said, when we learn new skills, as we get better at it, it becomes easier. It requires less energy from us. It just becomes, as we master and so on. So just wanted to share that, confidence growth cycle and how it works on my own example. Okay. So before we dive into the actual topic today, I promised you a bonus surprise. So I want to talk about that. And that bonus surprise is me extending an offer of more help to you. Okay. I want to coach live a couple of people tomorrow on your plan or anything that we've talked about this week when you're creating a plan, maybe challenges that you're seeing, maybe resistance that your brain is offering in your plan. Okay. And I want to encourage you to take advantage of this offer, to be vulnerable enough and grow your ability to receive and say, yes, Maggie, I want it. Okay. You don't even need to ask for help. I'm offering it freely. All you need to do is expand your ability to receive and be vulnerable enough to want to coach live. Okay. So how are we going to do it? Is send me an email. You can do it during the session. You don't need to wait, right? Maggie@stairwaytoleadership.com. Give me a little bit write-up what you would like to be coached on so I can think about it and prepare some questions. I might have some questions tomorrow to help you. Just tell me in one sentence at least why you. Why should I choose you? I'm going to coach a couple of people. Okay. I can't coach everybody. We don't have time. It will be too long. But I would love to coach a couple of people. So tell me why it should be you. And then show up tomorrow ready. That's all. All right. So that's a bonus. It's going to be fun. You're going to benefit even so much more from this event. And especially because the homework for tomorrow is your plan, your actions. How are you going to achieve the goals that you set for yourself? So utilize it. Send me an email. And let's coach a couple of people. And we'll do it towards the end when we have a Q&A usually, right? So during that time, I'll answer some questions. I'll answer questions if you're asking, but I also would love to coach you. So accept the help, be vulnerable, open yourself to receive, go for it. All right. Perfect. Let's get started. And I don't see any transformations. Don't be scared to share something with us. Right. So I mentioned that quote yesterday from Napoleon Hill about decisions, right? That successful people make decisions fast and change them slow. And unsuccessful people make decisions slow and change them fast. And that's from Think and Grow Rich. Don't judge me for inaccurate quote. I was trying to find the exact quote in the book when I was preparing for this challenge, but I couldn't find it. I was like, I'm not rereading the book to find the exact where it is. So I probably paraphrased it, but if you read the book, if you're reading the book, you'll find it there. And I just wanted to be a foundation for today's topic in making strategic decisions and showing you also the process and how people are able to make decisions fast and then really stick with them because they believe, they're confident that those are the right decisions. And then they just go out there and execute them and they hone and master that execution without always changing the decision. Again, it doesn't mean they never change them. As you can see, they change them slow, but the percentage of the decisions they change is much lower than people who make decisions that are I call them like rushed and sometimes not confident, or when they take them too long to make decisions. Okay. And I say rushed because they're usually an reaction to certain circumstances or reaction to certain, fears and doubts, even though they might be slow because you're procrastinating or whatever. Okay. So let's dive into what it is and what are differences. So here's fast and strategic decisions versus non-strategic or slow and rushed. Okay. And we'll keep it to business, to your business. So a fast and strategic decisions, it's always aligned with your business foundations. The business foundations provide support where you can hook your decisions and feel that they're right, that they're the best, right? That they're really good for you. Think about it like roots in a tree. When the roots are strong and healthy, this tree can grow and sustain a lot of weather and challenges, right? What is business foundations? In a nutshell, it's your mission and vision and values and really knowing who you serve, how you serve them, who are your ideal clients, and really knowing that. Okay. And being passionate about your mission and vision, the impact you want to do. Right. When you align your decisions through it, when they act as a filter, it's very easy or easier. It's simpler to make decisions fast because you're just like, okay, is that aligning with this, and that? Yep. Okay, let's go. Right. And then be confident in those decisions because there's this alignment. When you don't have that foundations or clarity on the foundation, so you maybe have it, but you're not really clear, not really confident about it, then it takes much longer to know, is it the right decision? And it's not. And because you don't have that confidence, it's almost like you don't have a hook, or your root is very not deep, not very weak. Then any weathering, whether it's in the economy or somebody's opinions or something, just makes you move towards different the direction, right? Or it's you go in a different direction. Strategic decisions are always informed and also anchored in possibility. And so informed, what I want to say by this, that it doesn't mean that you're so optimistic that you just take risks without really thinking them through and be almost like delusional. It's like, yeah, everything is going to go fine. Let's just go and do it, right? No, it means that I do think about the risks and assess them, right? That's why you had that exercise today in your worksheet. And at the same time, I still believe that I can achieve my values. So I just prepare for the risk and still go after my vision. That's what I mean. I can achieve my vision, my goals, right? So you're anchoring the decision and possibility while informing yourself on maybe, best practices or the risks and so on, and making decisions with that knowledge, but not letting that knowledge prevent you from going after what you want, from going after your goals. Whereas like unstrategic decisions, right? Like the reaction, they're based usually just on probability to, okay, this is what I was able to achieve in the past. Therefore, yeah, I can hope for some growth, but not too much because that didn't work, or I tried all those things. So I'm not sure this thing will work for me. I tried this and this and that, and that's similar. I don't know if that will work for me. And also disbelief and fear. So when you're letting the fear or doubt drive the decision, okay? Then, as I said, those decisions you change rarely, right? The strategic decisions, because you know the reasons why you made them, you know the reasons where they're anchored. So it's almost like, okay, I think it's the right decision. Again, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I make mistakes, or I could have made a better decision. But before you change it, you assess it, you give it time to succeed. And then if whatever doesn't work and you're really assessing and evaluating, sometimes that might be the case, right? Whereas if you're not confident, the decisions are slow or rushed, you change them way more often. Okay. And I'll give you an example of me making one of these decisions this year. So, as I mentioned, part of my marketing strategy is networking. Okay. It doesn't mean that everybody has to have it and so on, but that's what I chose. One of my marketing is networking. And at the same time, I try to be very careful or very selective in what type of groups I belong to and so on. Yet, this year, there was a group that I sort of decided to join. And then a couple of months into, I was like, no, this is not for me. And I gave it time because, again, I made a commitment. I started paying some membership fees and things like that. And it was also like a networking group, but also collaborations when I could do different things and so on. So when I was talking to the founder, I got super excited about it, right? That's why excitement sometimes is not the best emotion to make your decisions from, more groundedness and confidence and so on. And as I got in, like already a month in, I was like, I'm not sure, but I also don't want to change decision too fast because I'm uncomfortable. Because again, I know I'm a bit shy sometimes, or a bit introverted. So I'm like, maybe that's in play. So I gave it another time. But at some point, I had to admit this was not the right decision. And even though I pride myself in following through with my commitments and decision, I had to admit, okay, I came here, right? And then I decided, okay, this is not the right for me. Forget about the membership fees. It is what it is, right? The rule of sunken costs. Sometimes you just do something, you spend some time, money, or resources, or whatever. You catch your losses in a way at some point, and you don't dwell on it. You learn, right? So what I learned from it is you want to make decisions from high excitement emotions. We kind of know that sometimes, but we're all human. Right? And be even more selective, right? So I did my lessons learned, I moved on. Okay. Fast and strategic decisions also focus on what's important, because when you have business foundations set up, you're able to prioritize and you're able not to do it all, but decide what's truly important and just focus on that. Do less, but with more impact. And then your decisions focus on that, which creates compounded results, right? Where slow or rash decisions, non-strategic, they focus on new. Oh, this is new, this is trendy, okay, let's go. Or urgent. And urgent, a lot of it you created, especially when you don't have strategy, when you don't have any planning and anything of that. And we talk about it on day one, why people don't achieve the goals. They don't have plan, they don't have strategy, and so on, right? And that creates a lot of unpredicted, urgent situations that could have been prevented. Doesn't mean you prevent every challenge in your business, but you can prevent a lot of that if you operate mostly here, okay? And then sometimes here, but then you realize and you move yourself back. And I would try to show it to you in the graphic. I made an attempt of presenting it in the graphic. So in a second, I will show it. Okay. So fast and strategic decisions also allow you for the mastery of execution and the mastery of skills, right? So when you think, again, I would just be coming back to my networking examples. When I decided to network as part of my business strategy, I went into it and started exploring different groups, right? So the decisions that I changed to, for example, leave that one group wasn't the decision to change my entire strategy, but one of the sub decisions, which groups I belong to. But then I kept going. So even though in the beginning it was hard for me to network, it was very uncomfortable, I wasn't getting the results from networking that I'm getting now, I kept going. I wasn't changing it. And it allowed me to master the execution. It allowed me to master the skill and really go deeper in my understanding what networking is all about, the relationships and so on. And even though my brain, especially in the beginning was offering me all those thoughts like, why do you want to network? Like, you don't know anybody. It will be hard for you to give back if somebody refers to, because you don't know anybody. I kept going. So my network keep growing. And now I'm able to, like one of the conversations I had with somebody I was networking with, I was able to connect them with 5 people. One conversation, I met them first time, and I was able to think of 5 people I could connect them with. But I wasn't able to do it a couple of years ago, but I kept going, right? So like it allows you to master the execution of whatever it is. Whereas slow and rash decision, it's a waste of resources, time, energy, and money. And the more of those decisions you do it, the more time, energy, and money you're losing. That's why people get so busy and overwhelmed and overbooked and tired, right? And then they don't have money for the right investments in their business. And even if, I just want to offer that even if you think, yeah, but a lot of my decisions, like I'm not spending any money, right? I'm trying to do everything like super organic, not spending any money, but think about the money you're not earning from making those decisions. That also waste of money. That's called opportunity cost, right? I'm doing something that is preventing me from doing something else, and that something else could be generating me a lot of money. And I'm losing that opportunity. Okay. So it could be that as well. Fast and strategic decisions lead or allow you, if failure happens and when it happens, and failure is really part of entrepreneurship, right? Nobody ever built a successful business without some failure along the way. But when you make strategic decisions, when failure happens, it's very strategic. You can learn from it. And that lesson is worth whatever money maybe you have invested, whatever you've put into it, because it still moves you forward. Whereas if you're a little bit all over the place with your decisions, there's a lot of unuseful failure. There's too much of it. And it's very hard to learn from it because you don't know the root causes of the failure. It's very hard to pinpoint why it happened. Therefore, it's very hard to learn from it, right? Fast and strategic decisions lead to faster and compounded results. At some point, that effort and consistency and sticking with it will create the compounded effect. That's the same way the interest, right? If you invest money and you keep the money in and you let the interest compound, at some point, even though the first years you might not see that, at the 10th or 20th, whatever year, you'll start seeing that compounded. Same in your business. And it doesn't have to be 10 years in your business. Like it's not exactly the same timeline as the interest, but it's kind of same rule, same principle. So that's why when you operate more often, let's just say 80-20 rule, okay? We're human. 80% of the time you learn how to be here, and then 20% of humanness, we're here. Maybe you can get it even higher, right? The more you operate here, the more percentage of the time you're there. But again, we're human. Then that leads, right? Because think about it, to make strategic decision, you need to be in strategic thinking. It all starts with our thoughts and how we feel, right? So when you operate that way, your business will grow this way. If you operate here, your business might be this, or sometimes like even more down. But let's just say good case scenario here, it's going to be this. And it's going to definitely take a lot of your effort. It's not going to be as fun. It's going to be way more draining and exhausting and things like that. Okay. Now, so here is the, my attempt at visualizing this. And I could have maybe done it in like, or is it vertical? So imagine this being vertical, but it is what it is. So think about it this way. When you make fast strategic decision, you don't lose a lot of time between the thoughts and then making the decision and implementation. When it's strategic, it's right, you're more compelled, you feel more committed to implementing it, right? So you implement, you see the results, you assess, you adjust, you make the next decision, and so on and so forth, right? So you move forward. So if it was vertical, you move like this towards your goal much, much faster. If you operate more in the slow or rush decisions, some of that will be a lot of indecision in between because you're not sure, you need to think about it, or your brain is scared to actually implement. So we'll procrastinate. So it will take you longer time to implement, then you'll get the results. But because there's lack of confidence in this decision, then it might take you many different ways. So think about it like you're driving towards your destination, towards your goal. And here you really have a GPS and you're going. Yes, you will get a speed bump sometimes, or maybe there's some what is it, like road works and you need to do a detour, or sometimes the road, the map shows it's going to be a good road and it's like a dirt road or whatever, right? So there are some challenges along the way, but like ultimately you're moving in the always progressing towards the direction you want to go to. Whereas here you're kind of not sure where you're going, so you're pausing, thinking, okay, should I go this? Should I go there? I'm not sure. Okay, you finally decide, you go, you get some results, but then you pause again. And then you start veering into like, here's your goal, but you're trying to go here. And because you change decisions more often, and that's why I have like 3 versions. Like, okay, I'll go here. That didn't work. Okay, I should try this. And then you change it, should try this, and so on. And then it takes a time to implement it, because you're really not sure. And then you start veering here. And that's where you spread yourself too thin. It takes you longer. It creates like, it's not like it doesn't create any results, because we saw on that chart, right? It creates some, but it's not necessarily what you want, or it's like up and down and so on. So I want you to think, and again, like as human beings, there will always be like, will be in both models. It's just your goal is to be dominating in this model of making decisions, not here. And minimizing the percentage of time you stay here, right? So I want to pause here and ask you like, hey, which model dominates right now for you? Maybe it's 50-50, right? And not again, like, don't feel bad about it. Think about it as just a skill, as just being, again, a professional, a pro CEO in your business, and thinking about your business as a CEO, not always as a service provider, as an employee, or as an individual, right? Like sometimes if you're a therapist, until you start a business, you just keep thinking as a therapist because you didn't need to be a pro CEO. But then when you start being a CEO, like if you acknowledge the fact, and if you understand the fact that now I am a business owner and I start growing my skills, you'll learn those skills. It's the same with me. When I started in corporate world on, one of the entry-level positions, I wasn't thinking the same way when I became, I guess 10 years later, when I became a director leading a 30 people team that kind of influenced the operation or was the heart of operation of 450 others in North America. Like without my teams, the 450 other people would not be able to deliver services to the client. They would not be able to do anything. Like my thinking changed and the way I made decisions and the way I operated through my growth in business, through having mentors and leaders and people who coached me and so on. I wasn't born with it, right? So it's natural that if you start your business kind of more from, I just love helping people and here's my genius zone and I deliver the service or I love the product or whatever it is that you do. And then you decide to start a business. And if you didn't have a lot of prior business experience in different domains, then yeah, there's some skills that you need to learn. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, again, ability to recognize it as you think about the dream, plan, do, or the confidence cycle, and then just go for it and practice, right? And it starts with self-awareness always. Okay. Let me know your thoughts about it. Now, I'm just going to go back to the emotions that we sort of need to feel anytime when we grow, okay? When we develop new skills, when we just want to do new things we've never done before. We want to accomplish new goals we've never accomplished before. And some of them are repeat from I think day 2. There's of course more of the emotions, but like I just want to talk about it because we talked about that emotional capacity, right? And being able to feel all kinds of emotions, and also know that you don't need to be super excited all the time in order to grow and so on. It's not the high, how do you say, like high frequency emotions. They're not always the best because it takes a lot of energy for us to feel them. And therefore they're not sustainable long term, right? So I think like there was an article that I read some time ago that performers, so people who, you know, like dancers and singers and so on, usually have a low after the performance. And it's because they drive their emotions very high to be pumped up and put a show and so on. And then the higher up you go in the emotion, the steeper the crash, like you fall from further, right? And then you feel that low. And operating this way in business is very exhausting. And that's why like some people are like, they go out there and they market their business, market. They're so excited. And they're like, oh, I got to take a break. And then they're like gone for a month. They don't market anymore, right? Because they go into high emotions and they can sustain it only so much. And then they fall. So what you want to do is operate at the positive emotion frequency most of the time. So you do want to develop that skill of self-awareness and watch your brain and what kind of thoughts it is giving you so you can redirect it. But then you want to operate at the emotions that are very useful and are easy to sustain by your body and brain because they don't require as much energy, right? So like one of them is commitment to your goals, commitment to your business and its success, commitment to your clients, commitment to whatever decisions you make and following through, right? Commitment to you. Courage. We talked about courage is just part of fear, right? Like we think about, it's just like if life is 50-50, everything has its like one side and the other. So one side is fear, the other side is courage. Therefore, if you feel fear, you definitely have courage to overcome it. Sometimes we don't believe it, but you do, you have it, right? Discipline. So being disciplined to, again, follow through and keep your decisions when you know they're strategic, when you really anchor them in business foundation, no matter if short-term results are not exactly what you want, but because you believe it's right and because you believe in in the capability of you overcoming the challenges and looking long-term that this is the right decision, keep going until you get the results you want. And that calmness, right? Like being calm and grounded allows you to access the executive thinking, right? Panic or even excitement, high extreme emotions, it's very hard to access your executive strategic thinking. So when you're calm and grounded, when you train your brain to do that, I was giving it an example for at the, ER doctors, right? You want to deal with a doctor that's calm and grounded, or with the nurse, not the one that's panic or hyper, right? Because then they have that ability to assess the situation. And also trust, right? So talked about trust in you, in your ability to help your clients, and also in your clients that they want what you offer. And I'll give you a funny story, funny or not so funny, but funny for me, it was interesting, of calmness. So again, like I've trained. So the very first job that I had in Canada was kind of like a 911, but for buildings, right? So I was taking the calls, and the calls were ranging from, we need somebody quick because, I don't know, VP's visiting and there's dust on the flowers and we need that dust removed, to like pretty critical situations where there were cars driving into the buildings and robberies going on and fires happening and so on. But we would get a call, of course, after fire department and so on. But there are some critical calls, right? So I learned to not go into panic with the caller, but be calm so I can get the information and I can send people out there and so on. So then fast forward a few years, I was a facility manager. So I managed some buildings here in Toronto for a company kind of like FedEx. So company Purolator, for those of you who are Canadian, but it's like a Canadian FedEx. And I think it was a Saturday, summer, and we had some like power outages. So I had one of the big hubs where the Purolator was sorting their packages and whatever. And during the day, this is not their critical time. They're actually busy at night. Like the most critical operations for those companies happen at night, parcels comes and so on, they send them. So during the day, it's actually slow time for them. But, they get to get ready. So I had a building that was running on a generator, like a big industrial generator operating, because the power was shaky and the client didn't want to risk, power going out at night. So they had a generator was running. And I take my kids were little. I take them, we went on the bikes, I had my phone with me because I was on call all the time. And I take them to like a splash pad. And we're a blended family. So I also have 2 step boys. So at that time we had our 2 step boys and my daughter was born. So they were like, I don't know, my daughter was maybe 3 and the boys were like a bit older, but also like 6, 7 type of thing. And I'm getting a call that the fuel in the generator ran out, that the company who was supposed to be coming and refilling didn't come. And I have a client panicked. And I have 3 kids in the crowd running around and I'm on the bike. I don't have my laptop, of course, I have my phone. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? Right. And I decided to stay because I had a lot of contacts and phones, like I could run my mini business from my phone. And I was watching my kids, making sure they weren't like going away any far. And within, I think, like 45 minutes, I must have made 100 phone calls to figure out what's going on, send the vendors and so on and so forth, and stabilize the situation so then I can get them on the bikes and go back home and like, open my laptop, whatever, and continue. And I was calm. I had to be calm because I had the kids and I didn't, my husband, I think, was away. And like, I had to be calm in order to think step by step, what do I do? What do I do? In the meantime, look at the kids, make sure they're safe, make sure everything is done. But the funny thing is that on Monday, one of the clients complained, even though situation was handled, always good. One of the clients complained that when they were on the phone with me, I was too calm. And they interpreted as if I wasn't taking the situation seriously. So on top of it, I had to write like a whole report, step by step, phone call by phone call, what I did to prove that I handled the situation. It's just a funny story. But that's what calmness allows you to do. It allows you to think strategically, like, what do I do step by step, especially in some, emergencies, circumstances. And in your business, if things go through, get thrown off its plan and you're panicking, it's hard to make the best decisions. When you're not panicking, you're like, okay, what do? I do this, I do this, I schedule this, I remove this, and so on. And you're saving so much more time that then you can tend to that emergency and not get too much behind and so on. And that comes with planning and that ability to think strategically. Okay. All right. So I did want to spend a couple of minutes to talk about day 5 homework, which will be really you deciding on the actions. So breaking down your goal, whatever you set for yourself, now into quarterly goals, monthly, and actions, monthly, daily, and weekly. Okay. So when you do that, make sure again that the actions that you're accessing your strategic thinking, you're making strategic decision, practice that with the homework, and that your actions are aligned with your business foundations, however they are right now. Okay. You know your business, you know your clients, I'm sure, so that they're aligned, that you're making that decision from your future self thinking. That's why you did the exercise and stepping into your future self and thinking about you achieving the goals at the end of the year, and who would you be and what would you think, and writing that letter so you can really know and feel that. So then you can make decisions from that place. Okay. Actions, committed actions. And here's what I mean. Don't try to do it all, to write it all just to feel good about your plan in the moment, or just think like, okay, if I do it all, definitely. But more is, these are strategic actions that I pick and commit to doing, whether it's weekly, whether it's daily, whether it's monthly, however frequency you set for them, right? So this plan, it's not for you to feel good and then try to implement it in the new year and then get overwhelmed because you're over planning, over putting too much. This plan, it's more to sit down and be strategic and think, okay, what can I really do? What am I committing to doing? What's the most important? How do I prioritize, right? So less is more. Okay. And as I said, let's coach live tomorrow. Couple of people. You can get a great bow on your plan. I can coach you through anything you want. Just pick whatever you need help most with, right? Write me an email, Maggie@stairway2leadership.com. Let me know what that is, just a little bit. Tell me why it should be you, and then show up tomorrow and we'll do it. Okay, you experience the power of coaching. All right. So we have 10 minutes. I would love to answer any questions or hear your thoughts, hear your thing. Let me know. You can ask questions anonymously through Q&A, or you can use the chat. Let's go. Be willing to ask for help. Good content. Thanks, David. Glad you're enjoying it. last day tomorrow. We'll still have a little bit of training there tomorrow, not as much. We'll do more Q&A and things like that, but there's still like just additional things to kind of make sure that you understand what we taught as deeply as possible in 5 days. Any questions? Any good books or favorite books you would recommend? How would you want to continue to fine tune your skills? So what skills are you thinking, and what topic, right? Because there is self-development, there's any particular business skills. What do you do to continue to fine tune your skills? So for me, what I do, of course, I have a coach. And I have a coach for the skills that I wanted to fine tune. And I go deep in her. Like I'm all about going deep in the skills, but also in the method that I choose to learn from, because that allows me to maximize my investment of time and effort to really fine tune my skills, right? What sometimes people do, they're trying to learn the same skills from many different people, many different methods, and they're wasting a bunch of time just to even learn the method, right? So think about it this way, again, like maybe we'll go back to baking or cooking. If you don't know much about, or if you're trying to learn certain skills in cooking, but if you're learning from 10 different chefs and each one of them has a different way of doing it, even if they're teaching you the same thing, it's going to take you so much longer to hone making that thing, because it will take you so much time to learn their different method and then figure out, are they telling me the same thing? Are they telling me the opposite things that are, negate each other? Like one person is telling me this and one person is telling me that. And it doesn't matter that like all those methods could be effective, right? All those methods could give you the results, but because they're different, they might be based on different philosophies and they're explained differently, your mind gets too confused. So when I go and hone my skills, I pick a method, I pick a person, and I learn. Now, depending on what it is for example, if it's a skill that I hone that I already am pretty good at, then I might pick some books first, right? Because again, I have, or observation, because I have enough basic knowledge and I have enough expertise to then understand and be able to apply things from the book. But if it's a skill that either I know there is no way I'm going to master it fast from the book because it's just not enough for me, or I really want to be like the best class, world class in it, I'm going to pick a coach. I'm going to pick who I respond to well, and I'm going to go with whatever they offer, right? And sometimes it's just a self-taught course, sometimes it's like really coaching and so on. And I truly believe, again, I'm a coach, right? So I truly believe in mindset coaching and that growth development. And I know that no matter how much I learned from the books, no matter how much I learned from the courses and so on, they are not going to show me my blind spots. They're not going to show me other perspectives fully, because I'm still interpreting those books and self-taught courses with my blind spots, with my biases. I need somebody to pick on that during a live conversation and point it out to me, right? But that's me. You decide. And I'm very narrow in the skills that I pick. So it might be, okay, this year I'm honing in this skill mostly. And then I practicing others that I already have, and I just need to practice and maybe make them more of a habit, right? And then again, like I give you the method that I use. What is my goal for this year in my business, and where is my gap? And I pick the main skills that I need, and I learn just that. I don't try to learn at all. Okay, so what, David, like I can again recommend some books, but I need to know like what topic is it? The marketing, self-development, strategy, like what is it? The best course was on Outward Bound. I don't know what that is, David. Can you please share the link to bind the printouts you put together? Yes. Let me see if I have it available quickly. Right here. Yeah, so if you wanted to buy this printouts, it's like $6.99 US. I'm not making any profit out of it. It's just the cost of printing whatever Amazon charges and a little bit of for the designer, a little bit of royalty for the designer, because it was the lady who did it was also like, she didn't charge me anything. So she did it because she loves this course and she's taking this course and so on, Susie. So there is like, you know, just a little royalty for her. And it's great, like it's beautifully designed and you have it in one place. So let me see. I did, if you got an email, confirmation email when you signed up, there was a link there with what the webinar, the first email, but let me see. Oh, maybe, oh yeah, I have it here. Sorry, there we go. Here is the link. So if you want to buy the workbook itself, here it is. So as I said, I'm not like profiting at all from it. Okay, what do you think of accountability peers? You're not gonna like that answer. Or groups that would check-in monthly, quarterly to keep you on track, for example, your goals, sales, meeting, revenue, clients. Okay. So here is my answer, Dawn. If you want to belong to a group just for the community and because, you know, sometimes an entrepreneurial journey, it's lonely and you just want to meet up and then therefore that's fine, you know, but here's my take. As a leader of your business, you need to develop a skill and be accountable to yourself. Again, I will give you the example of a CEO of Apple. Do you think the CEO of Apple has an accountability partner that they call every week saying, hey, like I was supposed to do this. Can you hold me accountable to do this? No, they make decisions and they follow through. Think about this way, like you started the business. You decided that you want to do it, right? Then learn how to make decisions and do it. Like for me, when you join accountability groups, you develop codependency. Like I was talking to somebody a long time ago, and they were telling me that they were meeting with a person almost like more than once a week even. And they were like on the other side of the world, but it doesn't matter. And I'm thinking, what if that person gets sick? What if your business grows and then the person gets sick and you can't meet with them 3 times a week? What does that mean? That you're not gonna do what you said you would do? Because you develop that dependency, right? I really encourage you to develop a self-concept of a person who makes a decision, decides, plans what they're doing, and they're doing it. Because that also builds your self-confidence and trust in yourself. Think about it this way. And again, and that's why, like I tell my clients when they coach with me, I don't want to be your accountability partner. Yes, of course, you know, having a coach you every week creates a little bit of that motivation saying, I don't want to tell Maggie that I didn't do. So like, because you feel kind of like ashamed. So that creates it, but I'm not there to like, ask you and hold you accountable. And I lost my train of thoughts, but what did I want to say? Oh, here it is. Think about a friend. So let's say you have a friend. I had a friend like that at the university where we would want to do her, like we were 4 in a dormitory for 1 year, 4 girls. And we would want to invite her and include her in wherever we did. And we were all at the same, like on the same course, doing the same courses and so on. And she would tell us, yes, I'll do it. And then last minute, she would pull out every single time. So what happened is our trust with her diminished. We stopped trusting her. We stopped counting on her that she would show up. We would still invite her, but we would just count on her not to be there. And also, whenever we really wanted somebody reliable, we would never ask her. So that trust eroded. It happens the same for you in your relationship with yourself. If you commit to doing things and you don't do it, subconsciously, you're losing trust in you. And that's why then you doubt yourself more. You fear doing things. You fear even like growing yourself and investing in yourself because like, oh, I tried to do that and never worked, right? So in your own best interest to develop a healthy relationship with you and build that self-trust and self-love is develop that self-concept of I'm gonna decide and do it. And if you need a help of a coach or a mentor, use it, but don't use accountability groups to keep you accountable. If you want to, again, just do it because it's fun to meet once a week and it's good to brainstorm ideas and just like have fun as part of it and just to start fine, but don't rely on it. Don't build that codependency, okay? So might not be the answer you were looking for, everybody, or you like it, but that's my true, honest opinion. I'm not a huge fan of accountability groups for that reason. Okay. All right. Link, say that again about accountability and developing it. Love to get better at self-accountability. Wow. Okay. So Kim, I hope that you got it, or do you want me to repeat it about accountability? Like I can tell you 100%, and you can ask anybody who knows me well, I don't need an accountability group. I make a decision, I get a plan, and I get it done. And again, it doesn't mean that it's 100% of the time because I have life, I have small kids, things happen, right? But if I don't get it done, it's such a small percentage that when I don't get it done, I don't make it mean anything about me. I don't beat myself up. I don't judge myself. I'm just like, okay, this happened. What do I need to reprioritize? What do I need to, what do I need to move around? How do I change things up to do what I need to do by certain deadlines? And maybe some things I decide not to do, and I just don't make a big deal of it because it's such a small percentage, right? So I want all of that for you guys because having that relationship with yourself, it's just like extraordinary. It's awesome. It's like you just really that trust in yourself. And think about it this way, like you are your own greatest asset in your business. Your brain and your body that holds the brain, right? It's your biggest asset in your life and in your business. So you want to operate it at its best, right? You want to take care of your body. And I'm not a health coach to tell you what you should be doing or not, but just have a good diet and be active. And then you want to grow your brain because that's your biggest asset. That's like the investing in your brain is the most secure investment you can ever make. Like think about it logically. When we invest our money in stock market and the companies or whatever, or even when we're employees, and that like hit me when I had that realization, we trust other people to make decisions for us. And we trust that they will make better decisions for us where the investment of our money will grow or that they will keep holding a job, right? Yes, we have things to do to like be good at the job, but like our job depends on the well-being of the company, right? So we're trusting others who we cannot control. We do not know what sits in their heads. We do not know what drives their decisions, and we're trusting them more than we trust ourselves. Because when you have your own business, and if you invest in yourself and you trust yourself, you have 100% control over those investments and the money you make. So you want to have your biggest assets. You want to take care of you the best you can, grow yourself and so on. Another example I gave one of my clients who had to learn the lessons, okay, was imagine you had a Maserati or whatever, Lamborghini. I'm not into cars, so pick, okay, like $1 million, $2 million car, or even better, you had like a racehorse that you paid $1 million, but it's so good that it can be making millions of dollars. Would you feed it crap? Like, would you feed it donuts or whatever? Would you keep it in like a not a great stable? Would you hire not the best, what are they called? Like people who ride those horses? Oh, like you wouldn't let anybody drive the car, probably eat in the car. You would keep it in the garage. You would give it the best fuel. With the horse, you would like learn all the books and want all the experts to take care of it because it's the asset that will make you money. You can't think of yourself less than that. You should more. Okay. So like when you realize that, then it's like, oh, big aha moment. And the thing is that your potential is really limitless. All of our potentials are limitless, especially that we're living in free countries, safe. Really, there's, I was born in the communist regime. You couldn't own anything. You could barely travel. You could be put in jail if you weren't in line with like the, governing party. So like when your freedoms are a thing, then you could think like, okay, maybe my potential, unless I change the countries, unless something else in my circumstances changes, right? I can live up to my full potential. But in Canada or in US, North American, like, or in Europe, like now, European Union, free Western countries, like really there's nothing stopping you other than our brains and our limiting beliefs that you can work on. You have power over it, right? You can learn how to work on it to reach your full potential, to push yourself and push your limits and achieve and create life or business and business that you want, truly. Sometimes you need a voice coming back at you when you're trying to make a decision. When you live alone and work from home, you need an exterior connection. Yeah, it's hard to yell at yourself. I agree. But you want somebody, in this case, Diane, you want an expert. Like if it's in your business, right? You don't want to ask an opinion of your friend who never owned a business about what to do in your business. Because it's just an opinion. There is this quote, and I don't remember who said it now, probably misthink, that opinions are the cheapest commodity out there. Everybody has opinions on everything, right? Like I always, when I was in facility management and when I was sometimes dealing with clients who were occupying the buildings, they were also always experts in facility management, even though their jobs had nothing to do with facility management, right? People have opinions about everything. But the experts' opinions are rare and they're valuable. Therefore, most of the time, they're not free, right? So I agree. That's what I'm talking about. We all have our blind spots, right? We all have certain limiting beliefs about ourselves that cloud our judgment sometimes, right? So yes, you do want the third party look sometimes at it, right? And especially if you're whatever you're trying to decide on and maybe you don't have a skill or certain knowledge to, again, anchor that decision you wanted, but you want to be careful who you're asking for that opinion. Not opinion, counsel. Who you want to ask for advice, right? Opinion, no, advice, expert advice. That's what I'm saying. But you're right. Great questions, everybody. Any other questions? I have a few minutes. And then I'm off to, so my daughter is performing in Nutcracker. They're doing like a show from their dance school in Nutcracker tomorrow, and they have 3 shows. So there's one tomorrow and 2 on Saturday, but the day they have a dress rehearsal. So after this, I'm gonna, put makeup on her and do her hair so she can have a dress rehearsal today. But I still have a few minutes so I can answer. Where's the shoe Nutcracker? It's they perform in Whitby. There's this very cute theater. It's called like Small Theater in Whitby. It has like this 19th, 18th century feel, and they have like great decor. It's very small. That's why they have 3 shows, because it can't hold, I guess, all the parents and grandparents and everybody who would like to see it with the kids, and the whole school is performing. So even the little munchkins will have like a dance in it. So that's why they're doing 3 shows. But yeah, it's a very cute theater. All right. Any other questions? And hey, if you want to be coached, be vulnerable, be courageous, vulnerable, and use this to grow your ability to receive. Send me an email and pick a couple of you to coach you tomorrow. It's going to be fun. Coaching is fun and super powerful. All right. Okay. I think there's no more questions now. If you do have any questions, we can still answer some of them tomorrow. As I said, tomorrow is still, there is a little bit of content that you don't want to miss to make sure you have everything you need for the plan. And yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here with me. See you tomorrow. Bye. Bye, everybody.